Well, let's step back a bit from that because there's been a lot of smoke and obfuscation about this question of Homeland Security, the FISA Act, and surveillance of telecommunications. I think back to the days where people used to get a warrant for a wiretap. Mm-hmm. And now you're talking about one landline phone, clip into the copper wires, and you do that. So today we have packet communications, internet, cell phones, disposable cell phones, and a whole variety of communication technologies that are much harder to manage. So can you give our viewers a little summary of what exactly some of these acts have done? Because my understanding, they're not necessarily listening to communications, but more mining bits of data from them to take keywords and then zero in. Is that correct?
Well, we also have, our national security personnel have technology that intercepts potentially millions of conversations around the globe. Mm-hmm. And then, as you correctly note, listen for keywords or phrases or things like that that would arouse suspicion. And when they come from foreign countries that may well be known to harbor terrorists, or perhaps numbers that are known to our National Security Agency personnel that a terrorist is using, mm-hmm. Those are the conversations that are listened to. If you and I are talking on our cell phones, the National Security Agency is not listening to our conversations. But if you're terrorist 1 in Pakistan talking to terrorist 2 in Afghanistan, those are the kind of conversations mm-hmm. that we should be monitoring. And the Democrats in Congress are trying to prevent that from happening without a court order each and every time. And that would slow it down and almost make it impossible. And it would quite frankly remove the largest advantage that we have to prevent terrorist attacks.
Now, if I'm correct, part of their rationale for managing that communication is because even though it's two people on the other side of the planet, the call gets routed through servers in the United States.
That's part
the logic
of it?
Because
so much of the fiber optic capability around the globe is an American network that is managed through devices in the United States. But the other thing, and this is even more insidious, the telecommunications companies that cooperated with our national security officials after 9/11 have been sued for their cooperation. Mm-hmm. And Republicans want to give these companies who cooperated with the United States government to save American lives immunity from these suits. Now, the Democrats are working hand in glove with the trial attorneys who have brought these lawsuits, and they are trying to block this bill on the basis that they do not want to give immunity to companies that cooperated with the United States. And to me, that is extremely discouraging.
It is extremely discouraging, and it's also quite clever because you can simultaneously say that you're for security and you're against, big business intruding on our rights. And altogether, you can have the lawyers end the program.
Yeah, but remember, what we're talking about here is terrorists talking.
Right, exactly.
And there was an example, I believe, this May, of some American soldiers that had been captured in Iraq. And the lawyers had to scuttle all over Washington for about 10 hours because at the scene they had found a phone or something like that, and they wanted to be able to do a trace on that phone to get a warrant for that phone. Meanwhile, the soldiers had been kidnapped and we were not able to save them. So this is what happens in real life situation, and people pay a significant penalty as a result of that.
Sounds like it. So if I understand correctly, the reauthorization of this capability is?
It expires February 1st.
Okay.
And the Democrats have talked about one 30-day extension, and even that I'm not sure that they want to do. Most of the Democrats voted against the bill when it came up in August, including both Carol Shea Porter and Paul Hodes. Mm-hmm. There were enough Democrats that did cross over and joining with the vast majority of Republicans. So there was a 6-month extension, but it runs out on the 1st of February.
What is their assumption at the end of their game plan? To just eliminate these kinds of programs? In
my opinion, they wanted to go through a court order, which would slow down or totally delay the ability to monitor terrorist conversations, and they also want to give their trial attorney contributors free rein to sue these telecommunications companies, and the suits could be worth billions. And so
Sure.
there's a lot at stake for the Democratic Party because they rely so much on trial attorneys
That's a
for
very good point.
campaign contributions.
It is pretty diabolically clever, though, that they can manage to do that all and basically bring the program to a halt just by making it so difficult.